Hello, I'm Robin Gibson, and this is the Harvard House Money Morsel. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and click that bell so you get a notification of when we release a new video. I wish I had the William Webb Ellis trophy sitting here. Unfortunately, it's touring around in Gauteng at the moment, so we couldn't get Sia Khaleesi & Co. in here today, but I do have Willie Pelser. Welcome, Willie.
Thank you, but it is beautiful.
No, absolutely, yeah. As is the William Webb Ellis trophy, and it only takes 1 point, as you can see.
Yep.
Willie, obviously clients are going to receive their portfolios, and it seems to become a recurring theme in markets that October is the worst month, and then November starts off with an absolute boom, and it really is almost like a tale of 2 days. End of November was bleak. End of October was bleak. November, we've absolutely taken off. Now, I know we had the medium-term budget speech. We had the Fed talking. What changed? What suddenly made the Rand go from 1920 down to 1836 and markets go on fire? Help us, please.
Yeah, Robin, I think the easiest way to describe this is I've never been on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
But when you watch movies or you actually watch sort of live footage from someone, his camera, whatever, go into those dips and then you get all of those things and people sit there and their eyes pop like this. And it's the same in the markets at the moment. It's just pure volatility based on all the uncertainties we've spoken about before. Yes. And I think what has happened, the fact that, yes, October was a bad month. Globally, obviously the start of the war in the Middle East has just added fuel to this uncertainty fire, if I can call it that way. So markets started to price in the worst scenarios. Previous month it sounded like the Fed is going to hike more, Europe's going to hike more, inflation is not under control. The world was just in a disarray for that matter. So the worst were priced in. And then suddenly, as you say, 2 days into November, 3 days into November, it looks like the world's hunky-dory. Why? First of all, yes, we had the Fed announcing, that they're not going to change. But again, in the minutes and analyzing that, the industry got to a point of, okay, maybe this is really the last one now, type of thing.
Yeah.
Subsequent to that, a day later, Bank of England and the rest of Europe, no hikes. And the tone is, yes, maybe we've come to the end of the interest rate cycle. So that lifted markets, and we mustn't underestimate the impact of oil, because previously, last month and so on, for a long period we were sitting at the oil price at $90 or above.
Yes.
Suddenly it's at 85 below, closer to 80. So your inflation expectation is starting to roll over, that it might be slower going into future. So that's point number one that helped us. Second thing is, yes, locally South Africa, we were all waiting for this sort of boost from the World Cup, and it will get the nation together again. So we can't underestimate sentiment. I think that's the principle. So I'm not saying it went up because we had the trophy, but it coincided. The first thing is, yes, we had the second things locally. We had this medium-term budget update type of scenario. Again, we went into this speech. It was postponed from earlier in October to the 1st of November. So that raised a lot of speculation as to what's happening in Treasury. What are they talking about? Transnet filed for assistance. Municipalities were asked to file for assistance, that type of thing. So the markets started to price in, this is a bad update coming. In principle, yes, it is bad. And why I'm saying it's bad is if we look debt to GDP, because that's the thing we were waiting for to see what will happen on that score. It moved by sort of 4% higher. So initially for the next year and two, we were expecting sort of 70%, I'm rounding numbers, debt to GDP. Now we're expecting 75%. But the markets were pricing in 80 to 90% debt.
Yeah.
So that didn't come in. So how did they manage this type of thing? So I think the one positive that came in for me was the Minister of Finance, or in principle Treasury, is saying no more buck-hunt, no more standing in a queue to say we need help. The Transnet, the Eskom, the SOEs type of thing. They said back off, we will sort out this problem differently. We need to look at the underlying businesses, so a Transnet, get trains on rails, that type of thing. So we're not just going to dish out money anymore. In principle, we can't. And that's what came through in this budget update as well, is, our financing of debt, actually our interest payment is running away. We can't do this. So what has brought this about, I think, government, institutions, government in itself, plus the private sector has been outspoken in the sense we need to be productive in the economy. We need to turn these things around. Second positive that came out of the budget is if you haven't spent your money up to now, what's been budgeted before, we're taking it away and we're reprioritizing. So from that perspective, also a positive. Yes, we are still sort of kicking the can down the road in the sense we still have these issues. Now it comes to implementation, it comes to decision making. And I'm quoting from Neil Froneman, the CEO of Sibanye. I was reading this morning in an Afrikaans newspaper called Vrye Weekblad.
Okay. Some
comments he was making, and he said, South Africa must actually be happy that we're in this disastrous economic scenario that everybody is talking about, because this is now forced government to pull in knowledge, assistance, and it's coming from the private sector. And I think that's a positive. They're standing up to say, listen, we need some help in this. And it's interesting, it comes at a time where we're facing an election. Yeah. So you would have expected the contrary to happen because we're buying votes. This might buy votes for them, actually, in the sense we're going to change the economy. Interesting stat to sort of round off my concept of we're kicking the can down the road. In the fine print down there, in the supplementary documents, a stat that's quite alarming is the social grant concept. And I can't remember if it's the year 2030 or the year 2040. But the size of assistance through this will be 2.3% of GDP.
Sure.
So that's actually a huge part of the economy.
Yeah.
If you think this is the pie we need. So I think government's also realizing, yes, we do hand out, but if this is the size we're looking for, we need to grow this economy.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, we need 2.3% growth to sort of finance this. So I think that realization and that's boosted the market in principle. As I say, we mustn't underestimate sentiment in financial markets.
So to some extent, we've had a local and an international. Willie, we're out of time. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for giving us those insights, Willie. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.